Episode 101, Little Treasure Speaks. Heavenly Sound. All the doctors and servants waiting on the side. Good heavens! Is this man rolling up his sleeves and personally massaging a woman's legs the same heartless young master they know? The terrifying president of the Luxure Group, Lu Tingxiao? Since last night, their image of Lu Tingxiao in their minds has been repeatedly shattered and reshaped. Even Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui wore expressions of complete disbelief, unable to accept that the man before them is truly their own son, let alone others. Before, they only knew that their son had been captivated by this woman, but they had never witnessed any details. The shock they saw with their own eyes was definitely 1,000 times more intense than what they had heard and imagined. Their son, whom they had given birth to, was becoming unrecognizable. In fact, what shocked the onlookers even more was Ningxi herself. At this moment, Ningxi's heart is like a stampede of millions of wild beasts. Great Demon King, can you please restrain yourself? Everyone is watching. Unfortunately, Lu Tingxiao is completely unaware of her internal roar and countless eye signals. He continues to focus on massaging her legs, which have become numb and tingling from worrying about waking up little Bun. As he massages, Ningxi is almost resigned, becoming numb to the gazes around her. And, the Great Demon King's skills are really good, so comfortable. Feeling better? After a while, Lu Tingxiao lifts his head and asks gently. Ningxi hurriedly nods, much better. Even your own father is looking at me as if I'm a national disaster causing chaos in the kingdom. Lu Tingxiao then covers her with the blanket again, gently tidying her slightly messy hair, and still not hiding his indulgence towards the girl. At this moment, all the servants in the old mansion have come to a clear conclusion: do not offend this woman at all costs. After all, they are currently seeking help from her, and even Lu Chongshan has to endure for little Bun's sake. He snorts angrily, his face full of anger, then turns and leaves, choosing to ignore what just happened. As soon as he goes outside, Lu Chongshan can't hold it in any longer. He angrily says to Yan Rui, "This is outrageous. Look at him. A grown man is actually doing such things for a woman, acting so humble. And he's doing it in front of so many eyes. What kind of dignity does he have left? Does he even remember his identity?" As a mother, Yan Rui, although also displeased, sees Lu Tingxiao's actions from a woman's perspective and does not find anything inappropriate. Truly liking someone naturally involves being considerate. Yan Rui thinks this way, absent-mindedly glancing at Lu Chongshan. Their marriage was considered a match made in heaven, a beautiful story back then. However, she is well aware that this man married her because she was the most suitable candidate, never truly loving her. The next day, the doctors performed another examination on little Bun in the afternoon and evening, and by night, his fever had finally subsided, and his condition was completely stable. After a day and night of turmoil, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Now that little Bun is fine, Lu Chongshan, who has been holding back all day and night, naturally can't endure it any longer. He walks to little Bun's room and speaks to Ningxi. "Miss Ning, thank you for taking care of little Bun this time. I'll have the driver send you back later." After Lu Chongshan finished speaking, he instructed the steward beside him, Xingwu, prepare a generous gift. This statement not only meant to dismiss Ningxi but also to completely sever ties, indicating that there would be no debts between them. This burning the bridge after crossing it, using someone and then discarding them, seems too obvious, doesn't it? As for Lu Chongshan's attitude towards her, Ningxi is actually completely indifferent. However, the thought of being separated from little Bun brings a deep, bone-piercing pain. Subconsciously, she holds little Bun even tighter. I really don't want to be separated from little Bun. Even in this moment, a strong sense of resentment arises in her heart, a crazy idea of forcibly taking little Bun away. Ningxi's aura suddenly becomes cold, and her cool gaze sweeps over everyone present without a sound. Out of instinct, she estimates the combat power of everyone. If she really wants to, except for Lu Tingxiao, no one here can stop her from taking little Bun away. Perhaps sensing Ningxi's emotional fluctuations and the chilling aura around her, little Bun, who is peacefully nestled in her arms, wrinkles his little brows uncomfortably. Ningxi suddenly realizes this and regrets forcefully suppressing the anger in her heart. She pats little Bun's back to comfort him. "Rui, go and hold little Bun." Lu Chongshan, seeing that this woman is unmoving and lacking manners, can't help but become genuinely angry. Yan Rui nods and goes to take little Bun from Ningxi. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao takes the initiative to step forward to the edge of Ningxi's bed, indicating that Ningxi should give little Bun to him. "Ningxi, let me hold him." Seeing this, Ningxi glances at Lu Tingxiao without vigilance. Even if it's Lu Tingxiao, she is unwilling to give little bun to him. No. I won't give him. Little treasure is mine. Seeing the defensive look of the girl, a hint of indulgence flashes in Lu Tingxiao's eyes. His gaze, like warm waves, envelopes her, and his gentle tone inexplicably has the ability to soothe hearts. Xiaoxi, be good, trust me, okay? Ningxi stares at Lu Tingxiao, her eyes reddening. She doesn't believe it. No one believes it. Why? Why would even you want to take little bun away? No. That's not right? Huh, how can it be called snatching? Little bun originally belonged to them, not her, not hers. Ningxi, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? Ningxi used all her self-control to make herself more awake. In the end, she reluctantly handed little bun to Lu Tingxiao, but her gaze was reluctant, and her eyes were full of grievances. Looking at the girl with a look of looking at a big villain and a betrayer, Lu Tingxiao's eyes showed a trace of helplessness. Seeing this, Lu Chongshan is satisfied and nods. Xingwu, prepare the car. Miss Ning, please come with me. Xingwu leads the way, signaling for Ningxi to follow him. With one arm, Lu Tingxiao picks up little bun, who has become noticeably unstable after changing arms. With the other arm, he protects Ningxi behind him. Then, looking at his parents in front of him with a cold gaze, he calmly speaks, Dad, Mom, thank you for taking care of little bun during this time. The company is not busy lately, and Jingli will be back soon. Little bun won't trouble you anymore. As soon as he finished speaking, both Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui's expressions suddenly changed. Yan Rui was instantly full of anxiety. Tingxiao, what are you doing? Little bun's health has just improved a bit. Where are you taking little bun? Lu Chongshan excitedly pounded his cane, angrily shouting, You rascal, what do you mean by this? You want to take little bun away? How dare you? Lu Tingxiao's gaze turned slightly cold. Father, little bun is your grandson, but he is also my son. Lu Chongshan was furious, speaking without restraint, I'm still your father. I think you've been bewitched by this woman. If you dare to take little bun away today, you'll have to step over my dead body. Lu Tingxiao's gaze remained cold. If you insist on using your life to threaten me, I have nothing to say. But little bun, I must take him away today. For a moment, tension filled the air between father and son. Everyone remained silent, not daring to make a sound. At this moment, Yan Rui stood firmly on her husband's side. Tingxiao, we might have failed to take care of little bun well this time, but it was an accident. We are little bun's grandparents. Is there anyone in this world who cares more for little bun than us? Are you willing to believe a woman you've known for only a few days rather than your own parents? This matter has nothing to do with her. Lu Chongshan couldn't tolerate his son defending that woman. Enraged, he shouted uncontrollably, Have you forgotten what happened 2 years ago? Have you forgotten how little bun became like this? Is one painful lesson not enough? You actually dare to believe in such a woman. You're simply. Yan Rui, seeing Lu Chongshan's emotions escalating, hurriedly went to support him. Tingxiao, try to understand your father and me. We're scared. We're little bun's grandparents. How can you believe a woman you've only known for a short time over your own parents? I understand your feelings. I swear on my life that the same thing will never happen again. She's different. Since we met, she has only shown care for little bun. You've witnessed the changes in little bun since he knew her. However, the older generation's mindset was still too stubborn, especially when it came to the events of 2 years ago. Therefore, after hearing Lu Tingxiao's words, they wavered for a few seconds but quickly returned to their original stance. No matter what Lu Tingxiao said at this moment, they were unwilling to listen, and they would not allow him to take the person away. Lu Tingxiao's face grew darker. Although he didn't want to, he deeply understood that it was better to endure a short pain than a prolonged one. So, he reluctantly said words that might hurt them. The most frightening thing is not when little bun is harmed by outsiders but when the harm comes from close relatives, destroyed under the guise of love. You? Lu Chongshan's face stiffened, and his whole body trembled. His son's words were like a heavy stone pressing on his heart. Although he had always acted for little bun's good, since he forcefully confined little bun to the old mansion, the child had only suffered harm. Last night, it almost... With Lu Tingxiao's words, the living room fell into silence, the atmosphere becoming tense. At this moment, the most awkward position was probably Ningxi's. She knew that with her presence here, many things couldn't be said, so even though she didn't want to leave little bun, she had to consider whether she should leave first and let them, as a family of 3, talk things over. Perhaps because the argument was too loud, little Bun, who was leaning on Lu Tingxiao's shoulder, furrowed his little brows. His eyelashes trembled, and he slowly opened his eyes. Ningxi stood behind Lu Tingxiao, so when little Bun opened his eyes, he saw her at a glance. The little guy, with his eyes still hazy from just waking up, looked adorable. He blinked his eyes lightly, and upon seeing Ningxi, his gaze never left her. Thinking that he might have made a mistake, the little guy used his soft little hand to rub his eyes. Then, without hesitation, he reached out towards Ningxi. The next moment, in the quiet air, a soft and slightly hoarse voice rang out, "Hug." In the tense atmosphere of the smoke-filled living room, unexpectedly, a childish voice, so soft and tender that it could melt hearts, rang out without warning. It was like a thunderclap that exploded in everyone's ears. Lu Chongshan's face, previously clouded with gloom, suddenly turned blank. Yan Rui, who was about to speak words of comfort, widened her eyes in astonishment. Even Lu Tingxiao, who was usually calm and composed, froze in place. Holding his son in his arms, he stood motionless. If it weren't for the lingering warmth of the little one's breath on his ear, he might have thought he had hallucinated the sound just now. That voice, which he couldn't remember how long it had been since he last heard it, was nearly identical to the one in his memories. He thought he would never hear that voice again in his life. Because everyone present was too shocked, for a moment, no one spoke. All eyes were fixed on little Bun, and each gaze held a mixture of words unsaid. Little Bun's grandparents and his biological father were the most astonished. Perhaps it was Ningxi who was even more so. She stood opposite little Bun and not only heard but also witnessed the moment when the little guy spoke. Little Bun was completely unaware of the impact of what he had just done. He concentrated on maintaining the posture of asking for a hug. Seeing that Ningxi ignored him, he pouted and revealed a heartbreaking expression as if about to cry. Ningxi, who was momentarily stunned, quickly rushed over and took little Bun from Lu Tingxiao's arms. Ningxi's actions acted like a switch, and everyone else gradually recovered from their shock. Tingxiao, little Bun, did he just speak? Did little Bun just talk? Was it him? Yan Rui and Lu Chongshan successively questioned in excitement, their voices trembling. The doctors and servants around also began to whisper. Did you all hear that just now? Young Master spoke. I heard it. Young Master said he wanted a hug. I thought I was hearing things. Young Master hasn't spoken in 2 years. It's amazing. What happened just now? I don't know. He suddenly spoke. I'm completely baffled. Little Bun, back in Aunt Xiaoxi's arms, finally felt satisfied. The noisy voices around him didn't bother him at all. He yawned delicately and then nestled on Aunt Xiaoxi's fragrant shoulder, falling back asleep peacefully. Leaving everyone in the room dumbfounded by the word that had just stunned them all. That? Miss Ning, did you see that just now? Was it little Bun who spoke? Can you talk to him and make him say more? Yan Rui asked cautiously. Lu Chongshan, completely forgetting his previous anger, echoed, yes. Looking at the eager and expectant expressions of Yan Rui and Lu Chongshan, Ningxi patted little Bun's back and cleared her throat slightly with a bit of embarrassment. Well, little Bun fell asleep again. Asleep again? Wasn't this driving them crazy? But it was impossible to wake up the little one at this moment. What should they do? Therefore, at this moment, all eyes fell on Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son with a complex expression. He gently touched the small head of his son and spoke softly. Little Bun did speak just now. Don't worry, when he wakes up, we can see more. Not in a hurry, they had waited for 2 years, thinking that this day would never come again in their lifetime. Yet unexpectedly, it happened, the day little Bun spoke. How could they not be anxious? But at this moment, there was nothing they could do except wait. Xingwu, whose task was interrupted by little Bun's sudden utterance, finally found an opportunity to speak. Master, do we still need to prepare the car? As soon as he spoke, Lu Chongshan immediately gave him an extremely displeased look and snapped, prepare what car? Tell the kitchen to get dinner ready. After saying that, he cleared his throat and turned somewhat awkwardly to Ningxi. Miss Ning, stay for dinner. How could he be willing to keep this woman here? However, little Bun, for the first time, spoke not to his grandparents or father but to the woman in front of him. Yes, stay for dinner, and no, maybe stay a few more days? Look, little Bun can't bear to part with you. Yan Rui also spoke. Faced with the sudden change in attitude from the elderly couple, Ningxi instinctively looked at Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao furrowed his brow slightly, showing no signs of relenting. This time, he was determined to take little Bun with him. After all, little Bun was his own biological son. Lu Chongshan knew exactly what Lu Tingxiao was thinking. In a deep voice, he said, "If you want to take little Bun away, at least wait until he has recovered a bit. We'll feel more at ease letting you take him away." "Taking little Bun away now, are you sincerely trying to upset us?" Listening to these words, Lu Chongshan, who was usually so stubborn, surprisingly compromised. A hint of surprise flashed in Lu Tingxiao's eyes. He looked at Ningxi and said, "Let's go back to the room first. We'll talk after little Bun wakes up." Now that little Bun had just spoken for the first time, if he took him away at this moment, Lu Chongshan might truly sever ties with him. In this situation, Ningxi naturally understood. She nodded and carried little Bun back to the room. As soon as Ningxi took little Bun into the room, Yan Rui and Lu Chongshan could no longer control their emotions. Chongshan, did you hear that? Did you hear it? Our little Bun spoke. Little Bun really spoke. I thought I would never live to see this day. Yan Rui cried tears of joy. What nonsense. Didn't little Bun just speak? I said our Lu family's ancestors blessed us, little Bun will definitely get better. Lu Chongshan exclaimed. Watching the excitement of his parents, Lu Tingxiao hesitated but ultimately refrained from pouring cold water on their enthusiasm. Little Bun had only said one word, and it happened completely unconsciously. However, even so, it was already a significant breakthrough. In the room, Ningxi kissed little Bun's soft cheek, overjoyed. Ah! My little Bun spoke. Spoke. My little Bun asked me to hug him. My little Bun's voice is so cute, so adorable that it melts my heart. How can his voice be so cute even when speaking? At this moment, everyone was anxiously waiting. Fortunately, little Bun had slept for a whole day and night, and he was already full. After waking up briefly earlier, he fell back asleep quickly. Ningxi saw that little Bun had opened his eyes and immediately showed a pleasantly surprised expression. At the same time, she felt a bit anxious, fearing that she might startle him. She whispered, "Darling, are you awake?" Little Bun blinked, looking at Ningxi for a while. After a moment, he blinked his eyes again. Finally, he confirmed that the person in front of him was Aunt Xiaoxi. The big grape-like eyes instantly lit up like a starry sky.